Well, now we're talking about the identifying credible sources. Why? Because that's what you need to use in your research paper. What are they? Where are they? And how are you going to know? Well, first, let's look at what credible means. The dictionary definition is worthy of trust, and that's what you need in your sources. Okay, so what are the criteria? Well, they need to be unbiased. That means they shouldn't slant to one side or another. They need to be thorough, which is complete, honest, and well informed. They should have credentials. So let's talk about credibility tests, testing a source for credibility. Let's we're going to look at an article here in just a few minutes. What are some things you notice? Look at the language. Is it emotionally charged? Look at the diction. Does it have certain connotations? And the content is important. Is it opinionated? Uh, does it make allegations? And are the allegations not backed by citations? Okay, let's have a look. Okay, we have an article on George Soros. It comes from InfoWars. Um, okay, look at the title. George Soros pours millions of cash into pro Biden groups since the start of the year. Now look at the subheading. Globalist Kingpin believes former VP is the best bet to usher in NWO agenda. Do you see anything that triggers anything? Okay, I do. I know what NWO stands for. It's New World Order. That's a conspiracy term. All right? Major media news sources don't use those. Next, we see that Soros is called a kingpin. That is someone's opinion. And a good article, in an unbiased article, the writer doesn't do that. Okay, so we scroll down now. They're making allegations about the different ways that Mr. Soros spends his money. This is the only citation I see here, and it's a very vague one. All right. When I scroll down to the bottom of the page toward the end of the story, I don't see any mentions of the story of this source at all. Okay, it's a very vague reference. And like I said, that's the only reference to a source that I see there. Okay, scrolling on down, something else that I see is some more name calling. Left wing. Well, again, you don't do any name calling. It's obviously biased. Okay, but let's just go ahead and check the credibility. We need to look for an About Us page. We know who the author is, Alex Jones, but we don't know much about it. I don't see an About Us link here. And in most websites, that's where you can find out more. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom because sometimes you'll find it here. Yes, there it is, About Alex Jones Show. So we click on that link, and this does tell us about our author. Does it tell us that he's credentialed? Well, let's see. Okay, first of all, when it's describing him, look at the language here. Since the beginning of time, there have been constant attempts to enslave and subdue the spirit of humanity. Very emotionally charged language. It's convicting. It's accusatory. Barbarian hordes that stream down and torture anybody dreaming to be free. That kind of language is highly inflammatory. Okay, now let's look at what it says his credentials are. Um, he's internationally recognized as a trailblazer in new media, whatever that means, in a burgeoning liberty movement. Okay, and this is about the most it says about his credentials. Nothing about where he went to school, nothing about where he's worked. It's impressive that he was an entrepreneur, but all he did was launch his own TV show. He's a talking head. So, in other words, this is not a credentialed source. Okay? So that one failed the test. Now, these are some other indicators, some other things that might tell you that the site isn't credible. Grammar mistakes, it's a badly maintained website. Look at the author's name. Is it an authentic name? Is it a catchy name? Is it missing? what are their credentials, and the mission statement. You got what the mission statement was in the other one. It wasn't informative, although it claimed to be. It was more persuasive. It had an agenda. And you want to see, are they selling something or are they promoting something? All right, now where do we find those good sources? Okay, if you're going on the internet, look for government and educational websites, .gov and .edu. Those are the big two, like it says. Those are URL suffixes, something something .gov, something something .edu. That means that they come from either a government source or usually a college or university. And those are the only two URL suffixes that are always reliable. Now, it doesn't mean that all .coms and .orgs are not reliable. Check on the media bias chart, which is this. And what that does is, this is a picture of it. What that does is it lists, it lists those media sources. Okay, I can't get much of a better look on this. There we are. What we see here is the media bias chart. This is something I want you to use to help you determine whether some of the news media that you find on the website are trustworthy enough. Here's a bigger picture so that you can look at it more closely. You might recognize some of these media. All right, if we zoom out, you can also see that I've got some things circled in green and some in red. Red is going to be bad, green is going to be good. The closer you get up to the top, you'll see on the left, the more reliable the news source is. The reporting is more factual and it's more original fact reporting, okay? And further down, you see what makes it a little less reliable, a little bit more opinionated, okay? And so down here at the bottom, you find that it's less reliable and more opinion. All right, so down here at the top and bottom, you've got bias and you've got unbiased, okay? Now, look at left and right, okay? The further left you go, the more liberal it is. So that's not a good area. The further right, the more conservative, the more, to the right it leans. So that's not very good either, okay? What we want is right here. Oh, that was the wrong color. Okay, let me change that color real quick. All right, so what we want right here is what's neutral, okay? All right, so probably your best ones then, if you look, are going to be those right up here at the top. Just about anything in that circled area is going to be fine to use. You get a close-up look so you can recognize some of the ones that are good. You may recognize some of these, okay? AP is usually pretty good. It's firsthand information, all right? And I'm a little surprised that some of these are not quite in there. MSNBC. The Intercept, I'm surprised it's as close up to the top. Same with New York Post. That didn't used to be very reliable. But I tell you what, anything in this green circle, that's going to be okay to use if you find that on a worldwide web search. Okay? All righty. So, and then you have your databases. And that's going to be on our part 3.